How many miles do we have today? 628,360. It's time for a timing belt and water pump change, a major service. So let's get started. Okay, so today we've got my 2000 Acura 3.2 TL in the garage, and it's time for a major service, which is changing the timing belt and water pump. You should do this about every 100,000 miles, but this current belt has 230,809 miles, and it is going to be the fourth belt on this car. So I had the original belt when the car was first built new, and it had 165,000 when I changed it. The second belt had 232,509 when I changed it, and this belt has 230,809. So I've done this service before, but I've never filmed it for this channel. This will be the first time filming it. And what you want to do is get some genuine parts. I don't like using imitation parts or aftermarket parts. This is a major service. If this belt breaks or your water pump breaks, you could severely damage or destroy your engine. So I know I watched a video with Eric the Car Guy where he got a aftermarket Chinese knockoff water pump and belt from eBay or somewhere, and he put it on his Acura 3.2 TL, and soon after that water pump failed, the belt came off, his engine stopped running, and he had to tear it down to make sure he didn't destroy the engine. So I've only used genuine dealer parts for this. So what we have here is the timing belt. Now you got to remember, Acura is a Honda engine really. So we have the timing belt, the water pump, and then we have the power steering belt. That's the one that has P8A. And then we have the alternator and air conditioner. And then we have a thermostat. And I'm going to change the radiator cap and the drain plug. These are AutoZone parts. You can't get these at the dealer unless you buy the entire radiator, which I did one time. I had to replace the radiator one time. And then you need some coolant. And it's up to you if you want to get some stuff at the auto parts store. It's almost the same price you use the dealer, so I've always stuck with dealer. Honda or Acura Type 2 antifreeze coolant will work. So after you have all these parts, and then all your tools, I will list everything down in the description, part numbers, where I got them, what I paid. I'll list it all down there. So to do this belt service, we need to jack up the car and take off the right front wheel, because that's where we're going to be able to turn the engine, and that's where the timing belt access is and everything. So let's break these lug nuts loose before we jack the car up. Okay, in the middle, this is the jack point for this car. Okay, now we've lowered the car onto jack stands. For extra safety, I chalked one of the rear wheels front and back on the tire. Okay, on the right front wheel, let's get this wheel removed. Okay, wheel is removed. Let's take off these two plastic covers. Get yourself a ratchet with a 10mm and a flathead screwdriver. Take off these two. Just turn them a quarter turn. Take that off. Okay. Undo these four corners. And then lift that out of the way and set that somewhere safe. Okay, now we got two plastic covers to get off. Front cam pulley cover, rear cam pulley cover. There's 5 bolts in this one, 5 bolts in that one. And then to get this one off, there's 1 bolt holding this dipstick tube just underneath this cam cover. So they're all 10mm. So we're going to take out these 5 on this cover, 1 for the dipstick, not to remove it entirely, but just to push it back a little bit to get this cover off, and then later we'll remove it. And then 5 bolts on the back cover. This is what the little bolts look like. Let me put it in here and show you. That's what the little bolts look like. That'll be 5 in each cover. Okay, that little tab won't come out, so over here on the other side there is there we go, little bolt right there that holds that wiring harness on. So let me get a wrench on there and get that out. Get that little bolt out. So I'm just going to put some tape around that to keep it where it's at, so I remember that bolt goes there. Okay, for this one bolt in the center of the cover, I ended up using a 10mm deep socket to get in there. Clearance for my wrench to get this last cover bolt out, and so I need to get this one engine mount bolt out. So I'm going to take that one out. We don't need to support the engine yet because the rest of the engine mount's still there. I'm just taking one out. Using a 14mm, got that bolt out. Didn't really help things. I think I'm going to have to loosen the adjustment on this power steering pump and take this belt off so I can have better access to that cover bolt. Loosen this 12mm deep socket nut right here. And now we have some adjustment. There's a couple more lockdown nuts we got to undo. So there is a bolt here that we have to loosen to give movement to the power steering pump. Okay, so that's loose. I don't need to remove it, I just need it loose. And then there's, well, we got movement there. There's one more nut on the other side that you may have to loosen. Just get this belt, power steering belt, out of our way. Can't take it off because we got the engine mount there, the side engine mount, but at least it's out of our way to get a wrench on that last cover bolt for the front. I finally got the last cover bolt broken loose. Now I'm just hand threading it out. Okay, we have all 5 bolts out of this front cam cover. Now, if I remember right, the dipstick bolt has to come out. Maybe not. I got it out without removing that dipstick bolt, but it'll come out eventually. So here is the cover. I'll show you the 5 bolts. When I get the other one out, I'm going to lay these both down and show you that they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I'm going to take off this 12mm nut for the power steering bracket so I can move this whole power steering pump out of the way. Okay, I got that nut off, so now we can move the power steering pump out. Following this power steering hose to the back valve cover, I'm going to undo this bolt so that I can lift the hose up a little more. Of course, you don't want to disconnect the hose from the pump because you'll have to replace your fluid. So we're just going to loosen everything to get it out of the way as far as we can. So I just put some tape on that bolt so I know where it goes. And now we're able to move this power steering pump up out of the way more so that we can get to more of these cover bolts like that one right there. A little break from working on those camshaft plastic covers. And I'm going to come underneath the car and remove some plastic clips, starting with this one by the oil filter. Small plastic clip, and then one over here, and then work your way around. We want to get this whole bottom tray out. I want to get this off. So I have pulled out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 small clips, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 large clips. And I think I've got them all out for the tray. Let's see if I can pull that bottom splash guard out. Okay, let me go over to the driver's side and see what it's caught on over there. Okay, by the driver's side tire, there is one more clip way up high right there. Got to get that one out. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 small ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 big clips, and just use screwdrivers to pry them out. And we got this whole bottom splash tray out. I decided to take out these two 12mm bolts and remove this big bracket here because it was just kind of in my way. You don't have to do that, but I took this grounding wire off the top and just taped that bolt. Let's push that out of the way. I'm trying to get myself some more room to work on this back cover. Rear cam cover bolt out that's about the 10 o'clock position, like over here under the fuse box, about 10 o'clock as you're looking at it. I had to make a little bed up here and lay my body here, my head about here, put one arm down here, and use the back side of this and turn this to get this one bolt out at the 10 o'clock position. Finally got that out. So I finally got the one bolt that goes through the middle of the cover out. I had to just use the socket with my fingers and twist till I finally got it out. And laying on this bed up here, same thing, put one arm down through here, and hopefully you can fit your arm through there by a lot of wiggling. And about 8 o'clock position as you're facing this cam cover, there's the last bolt. And using my box wrench, I was able to put one hand down here and one hand down here and work this wrench to get this last bolt out. So now all 5 are out, and get this wire out. Let's use a screwdriver and push it out, get it on top there. Should be able to get this cover out. There we go. Okay, so let's look at this cover. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's our front cover. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 holes. And here's our rear cover. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 holes. They're like mirror images of each other. Like mirror images. And it shows this is the J32A1 engine. Okay, to get the bottom plastic cover that covers the timing belt, to get that off, we have to take off this pulley next. This is the one belt we already loosened. So this is the power steering. This bolt has to come off. This pulley has to come off. And I've got a special tool for this. Okay, what we need is this special tool here. It's AutoLink 1902 by JTC Auto Tools. And this you need if you're going to work on Hondas and Acuras to get that main crank pulley bolt off. So here's our setup. You take this tool, this side goes in, put that in first, and then get the same 19mm you used on your lug nuts. I got a deep socket 19 here, that's what you need, it's got to be deep socket. And then I'll show you the setup I got here. We're going to turn this until that special tool hits the steel frame where the radiator is and locks it in place. There, we got that locked. Now, let me show you the setup I got here. I got my jack stand so that this is level, and I'm going to position that so that I can get a big pipe wrench on here and break it loose. It's 181 foot-pounds is the torque spec, but with heat and mileage, that thing's going to seem like it's more than 181, even though that's what I torqued it at, and that's always the case. So let me get this repositioned up a little higher and get a breaker bar on it. I want to show you the view under here, that we've got this against a solid steel frame here, and so that's going to stay put after we get everything ready to go. Okay, so everything's in position, and if you only had a 12-inch wrench, 1 foot, you're going to have to weigh at least 181 pounds to be able to break that loose. So if you had a 2 foot, this is 18 inches, but if you have something to extend it, like very thick PVC or a steel pipe is better. If you can get it to be from here to here 2 feet, if it's 181 pounds, you only got to weigh 90 pounds to break that loose. But I guarantee it's a little more than that. So the longer your pipe is, the more torque you can put on it. So if you got 200 foot-pounds and you got 2 feet, you got to push down with at least 100 pounds to break it loose. Let's give it a try. I'm going to put on some safety glasses in case anything breaks and flies at me. I got a steel cheater pipe on here. Let's give it a try. There we go. It didn't make a loud cracking sound like sometimes it does. So that is loose now. There we go. We could just turn this by hand now. We can take off our big tool off there. All this did was hold it. And that's what we needed. So that is loose now, and we can get the pulley off. Okay, before we remove this entirely, there's still the alternator air conditioner belt. So let's go top side, and it's very easy. There's an automatic tensioner. We just need a special wrench for that to get that off. So the special tool I'm going to use for the alternator and air conditioner belt removal. It's by JTC Auto Tools 3212. 14 millimeters the side I want. This is a combination 14 and 17. And this is 0 offset. There's no bend to it. And I'm going to put it on with this side this way, onto the tensioner, move the tensioner, slip the belt off with my hands, and then let it go. That's all this tool is needed for, but makes the job so much easier if you got it. Okay, so we've got our special tool and the 14 millimeter side. And I can lift that up. I'm going to have to move this power steering pump out of the way a little bit so I can push my wrench far. Get some lighting here for you. So I'm going to push this up and hold it and undo the belt with my other hand. There, belt is off. Let that down and take my wrench off. Okay, so now our belt can come off the pulley. We can't take it completely out of the car because, let's see, oh yeah, well this one we can because it's not around the engine mount. So we've got this pulley out of the way, belt out of the way. Take the pulley off. So there's a big bolt like that, and this washer stays on there as part of it. And you always oil these threads with engine oil before you put it back in. Just slide that out. There we go. And there's a key right there. Don't lose that key. Okay, so here's the pulley That's what it looks like on the inside. There's your keyway. It's a splined shaft, and it holds 2 belts. This is the power steering belt, which is still in the car because it's hung up with the side engine mount. And this was the alternator and air conditioner belt, which is right here. Let's see how it looks after 230,000 miles. Not bad. I always change all my belts, the timing belt and the other 2 belts together. This looks really good. There are no cracks. So changing it 100,000 could be more of an age thing than a mileage thing. But I'm planning a long trip cross country and I don't want to get stranded. This cover, 7 bolts got to come out before we can see the timing belt down here. Okay, what I've done so far is I've taken out 5 cover bolts from this plastic cover from underneath the car. There's still 2 more. But what I want to get while I'm under here is this bolt right here. Let's see if I can point to it here. For this dipstick, see this bracket for the oil dipstick? Right here, there's a 10 millimeter. I want to get that out, and then I can take the dipstick out first and then pluck this tube out from here, from the pan. And then I'll put a paper towel to plug that hole so I don't get any dirt in my oil. But this dipstick tube needs to get out of the way. Here, see it in there? I've got a 10 millimeter deep, and it's on a 1/4 inch drive, so I've got an adapter to my 3/8 inch drive wrench, and I'll break that loose and get it out. Okay, now that we got that bolt out, and I pulled the dipstick out, so now let's get the dipstick tube out. Wiggle that, it's got a rubber O-ring there, very tiny. And clean that. Okay. And now we'll just wad up a little paper towel and stuff it in that oil hole to keep any sand and dirt from falling into our oil pan. Okay, just leave that there. While I'm here, this is the timing mark for your timing light, and also on the pulley there's a white dot for top dead center and then some red dots for the actual timing of like 15 degrees. So we're going to line white dot with white dot in a few minutes, but I want to get set here before I do that, get all these bolts out. But I'm not going to remove this cover yet because I'm going to use this timing mark, and I'm going to put the pulley on temporarily and set top dead center. I'm going to check both cams, make sure they're top dead center, and this is top dead center, and then we're not going to move it anymore while we change the belt. So that's very, very important, is to statically set the timing of your engine to top dead center before doing this belt change. Right by this white mark, I see another bolt for the cover. So we're taking out 5 bolts plus the dipstick bolt. This will be 6, and then there'll be 1 more, number 7 I gotta find. So let me get my wrench up here. 10 millimeter, a little too long. Get a shorter one, and I'll get that off. Okay, I just got my wrench on the last bolt out of the total of 7 cover bolts, and then the 1 dipstick bolt. Just got the last one, getting my wrench on there, and getting that out. Okay, so let's put the pulley back on. Just to confirm, on the back side we got a nice white mark for top dead center. Line up our key and put that back on. There we go. It's only temporary. We're not going to torque it down. We just need this to be able to move the engine around I'm going to use the white mark on that cover. $19mm. So we want this at top dead center and both cams at top dead center before we remove the belt. But there's 3 cuts in the pulley and a red dot. That's your timing light. But the triangle I've got lined up with the white mark in the pulley, and I can verify that by moving my head around and checking it very carefully. The next thing I'm looking at is right here. I'm following get my light to stay here somewhere. Okay, this white mark following across here, and you can look at the top of the pulley here. You can see the top of this tooth. That tooth lines up with this white mark, and there's actually a groove cut into the metal, and it's just highlighted with white. Straight across here would be top dead center. And check the rear cam, same thing. There's a white mark in the face of the pulley and the top of that tooth, following back to the top of the tooth, and there's a groove in the machined face of that metal. Let me tone down the light a little bit. There. So the white mark and white mark are lined up. So we have both cams top dead center and main crank pulley top dead center. We're not going to move the engine anymore. We're going to leave it where it's at and then just take the belt off and put on a new timing belt. I'm going to use that JTC tool just to hold the pulley. While I give my wrench a little bump, I'm just going to put these 2 wrenches lined up next to each other so I can just use one hand and squeeze them together and ensure that that pulley is not going to move. And after I break this bolt loose, there we go. Okay, now I'm going to go up with my flashlight and I'm going to double check to make sure that that pulley really did not move at all. And then I can remove this bolt by hand. Okay, I double checked. It did not move, so let's get this pulley off. Take this bolt out first. Everything is at top dead center, just the way we want it. Wow, that's heavy. Get this plastic cover off. There we go. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Get that out. There we go. So to show you that, here are the holes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 holes. That's our timing mark. What the inside looks like. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm not seeing a ton of oil down here, almost none. So that means our front main seal is good. And I just had the rear main seal changed when the transmission was replaced about 30,000 miles ago. So front main seal, rear main seal, both good. And we don't have a soaking wet belt. Go back under there. Getting close here. This is all good. If this is all bathed in oil, then you've got some oil seals on the face of the engine to change. This is really good. I mean, for 600,000 plus miles, there is no mess under here to deal with. So this comes off, and it has like a concave bend to it, so you could put your thumb here and feel a groove. So it goes this way, not this way, but this way. Okay, so if it's more shiny on this side, you can see the teeth from the timing pulley. That goes that way. And let's see if the key stays there. Yeah, that's good. We'll just leave that key there. If it falls out, don't lose it. And now we're ready to undo the tensioner and remove that belt. Let me change the light here. So you see the keyway, and then above it on the face of the engine, you can see an arrow. That is your timing mark. So the keyway, follow it up to that top of that tooth, and the top of that tooth lines up with that arrow. Let me put the light, if I can hold it both here. This arrow here. See that arrow? Follow it down to this tooth, down to this keyway. That all lines up. So when you're checking to put this back on, make sure that arrow, the top of that tooth, and that keyway are all lined up when you're looking dead straight on at it, like I am now. Okay, get up there. Hopefully you can see that. Looking up from the oil filter, that is our automatic tensioner for the timing belt. Let me switch this light to a lower intensity. So, see that orange bolt? So there's a orange one, and then below it there's one that's not orange. Those hold that tensioner on, but that is under extreme pressure, and so we have to address that before undoing those bolts. Let me see if I can get some light in there. Okay, now you can see the two bolts. Orange one, and on the opposite side one that's not orange. That's what we're going to take off in a few minutes. Okay, so this is the right engine mount, and you know, to get this belt off and some other stuff, we got to remove that. So we're going to remove this mount, and to make it easy to get to it, I need this cruise control unit out of the way, so a couple of bolts, and then we'll put a towel here and just we'll hang it over the headlight or something, just hang it there. And then we'll take this engine mount out. And there's a bit of a different order you could do these things in. I may not be doing it in the most efficient order. I've done it in different orders seemingly each time I do it, so that's kind of how exhausted I'm getting. So any way works for you. I gotta unplug here, remove 3 bolts, and then I can hang it, leave this attached, just hang it over the headlight. So on this front clip, put a screwdriver in here, press down on the screwdriver handle while you're pulling that out. There, that's out. And this one, squeeze this clip, pull that way, there we go, that's out. And then 3 screws. I got this side one out already. Okay, 3 screws out. Remove this windshield washer hose from that clip. I'm going to get this off this clip here. Let's study that for a minute. Screwdriver in the back here. I take this pick that's curved, go in the back of here, lift up, get that in there, push up on that clip, and pull it out. See this clip here that I'm pulling on? That clip has to come up to get it off of there. On old cars, sometimes clips are broken, sometimes things are held with zip ties. Okay, and now lift this up and out of the way and just hang it over the headlight. Put it up by the radiator there. There we go. So now we got room to work on this engine mount here. We already took out this one bolt. We're going to take out this one, take out this one, and the engine has other mounts too, so the engine's not going to fall. Here, breaker bar. There we go. $14, and this one over here also $14. Breaker bar. I did not need to take this one out. So because this is rubber inside here, I can actually move it enough to get this belt underneath it and take the belt out. So now I have this belt off for the power steering. That's our power steering belt. Let's see how it looks. Oh, lots of little cracks. Lots and lots of cracks. This would have been the first belt to fail based on all these cracks I'm seeing here. So we have a brand new belt for the power steering. See, when you look at the top, it looks fine. You look in here, lots of cracks. You bend it the other way, you can see all them cracks there. Get some more lighting for you there. Engine mount. It's got a few little hairline cracks, but it's still doing its job. It's not totally gone. Yeah, there we go. You can see it's looking at the rubber there, it's still okay. I'm going to do something here. Because the water pump is behind this, and this will have to come off, I'm going to put these bolts back in here, and then I'm going to remove the center bolt where the rubber mount is. I need these bolts in here first so I can remove this, and then I can get this portion of this bracket out of the way where these two bolts are, and then it'll make it easier to get that out. So let me do that real quick. 17mm socket. Pull this whole thing out here. There we go. Now we can undo these other two 14mm and take this half of the bracket off. Let's see what we can take out here. Wiggle that off the rubber mount. I'll separate the aluminum and the rubber. There. Now I got that mount out of the way. There we go. Nice big gap there now, and we can take this off in a few minutes. Get this off. We're going to take out this one bolt in the top, and then there's 3 bolts underneath here going in that direction. So 3 in the face of it and 1 in the top. Let's get this top one first. There's a bolt here, and a shorter bolt further down. But to get to this bolt, I got to get this engine mount out. So 1, 2, 3 14mm bolts to get that out. Okay, we got our 3 mounts out of here. Now we just got to wiggle it out. There we go. Big side mount for the engine. Yeah, the rubber looks in pretty good shape. This side has some little hairline cracks, but still good. So now we're after this bolt, and then way down here, this bolt down here. We'll get those 3 out, and then we'll get this whole bracket off. The 2 top bolts are really long, and the one down below it is shorter. Bracket off that goes on top of the water pump. This is where the water pump pulley is. Top two bolts are long. Bottom one is just a little bit shorter. Okay, now you can see the water pump and how the belt, the back side of the belt, turns the water pump on the smooth face here. There's some sand. As I was taking this thing apart, some sand fell in here. The water pump's getting replaced, the belt's getting replaced. We'll clean everything before we reassemble it. That's what it looks like on the face of the engine so far. We're still not there yet. Okay, so right below the water pump, this idler pulley has an oblong hole here. So when I loosen this 14mm bolt, I'll use a breaker bar to loosen it, then this pulley will slide like a 1/4 inch. I'll take tension off that belt. Okay, let's see if you guys could watch while I break this loose. See what happens to the belt. Okay, nothing yet. Okay. Well, that bolt's getting pretty loose. Nothing's gone wrong yet. Okay, the bolt's pretty loose now, and then I push the pulley back. The face or the shiny surface of the pulley, this was pulling out with the bolt. So as soon as I pushed my finger here and pushed it back in, now the belt is loose. You can see that. See how the belt's loose now? Now we can move the belt around a little bit. May end up just pulling that bolt completely out. I think I'll probably do that. Wiggle the belt all the way off that idler pulley. Maybe I'll have to remove the bolt entirely, but let's see. Yeah, I'll probably remove that entire bolt. Make my life easier. There we go. That's the whole thing out there. And now the belt just comes freely off of all the pulleys and everything. And there we go. Whole timing belt is out. So with 230,000 miles on this timing belt, this is a genuine Honda timing belt. It says right there, Honda. $14,400 P8A A02. You can still read the numbers. Made by Gates. It's interesting. Okay. So Gates belt would probably do just as good on this car. I'm not seeing any cracking. Remember what we saw on the power steering belt? This is just truly amazing. Truly amazing. 230,000 miles. The edges look good. There is no signs of wear on this belt at all. I mean, other than the rubber getting probably a little harder than you would expect it to be from age. This is amazing. No steel showing, no cracking. Amazing. Feel after 230,000 miles. This is a genuine Honda pump. There is no play. It feels perfect. Spins well. We'll get it off and look inside, see if there's any corrosion, but I don't see any leaking, anything. This idler pulley, I just blew the little bits of sand off of it. When I put it up to my ear, I don't hear any noise. It feels smooth. I don't see any damage to the surface. No pitting, no bluing. It looks really good. Made in Japan. Koyo, K-O-Y-O, 760. That's a keeper. Idler pulley. I said something wrong a minute ago. The idler pulley is just, round like that. Then this goes in, but you see this tapered edge right here? That's why when I loosened this and then I pushed on the idler pulley, it slid down like that. So that's what gave me the slack in the belt, is this edge right here. So just want to let you know that. And when you put it back on the car, you see the two different sides. This bolt goes in the flat face. Doesn't go in this way, it goes in the flat face here, like that. So then you have that tapered edge right there that it could slide down. See that? Watch. See, it slides down. So it gives you some slack to work with. And then when you tighten it up, that tapered edge puts it where it should be. New water pump. So we got the word Honda up right here on the right. Then we got the pump. You see the blades here. So this is the way it's in the car. So over on the left, right here, is an idler pulley for the timing belt. Before you remove all these bolts, take this one bolt off of this one idler pulley. It's not the idler we just took off, it's another idler pulley. Take this one off, take that bolt out before you start removing the bolts out of this pump. I'll show you what I was talking about. Let me bring the camera down in here. Okay, so here's our water pump. That turns, that pumps the water. This is the idler pulley, but see how this moves up and down? So we don't want this bolt. We want this bolt right here. This bolt has to come out. Then this bracket with this pulley comes off the water pump. Do this first before trying to take the water pump out. So using my 14mm socket, a lot of muscle, I got that loose. A lot of threads on there. Okay, there we go. Try not to drop this thing. Okay. See if I can get my whole arm out at once. Okay, what do we got here? Okay, so we got another one of those specially tapered bolts, just like the other idler pulley. And we got our bearing, same brand, Koyo, Japan. So that goes through the water pump there. When Check this, make sure there's no free play or grinding. There's no sound. There's no damage on the face where the back side of the timing belt goes. This is a keeper. You can replace these if they're bad, so keep that in mind. If they're bad, this is the time to do it. Just like your front main engine seal on the crank. If that's bad, now's the time to change it, but mine's not bad, so I don't have to change it. I have changed it once in the 628,000 miles I've had this car. Okay, let's get that timing belt tensioner out of there. This is the tensioner. See that little pin sticking up? We're going to reset that pin. So there's an orange bolt there, another bolt there, and then there's a plastic clip around it that's like a wire manager. So be careful not to break that. It just slips off. Let's undo that bolt, and get that out of the way. Tensioner, both bolts used to be orange, same size. See a little orange on this one. Got those bolts out. Now let me reach down and pull that tensioner out. A little plastic wire manager right here. I just kind of wiggled it out, slid it off so as not to break it. And this is filled with like jack oil, like you have in a floor jack. And there is holes here. I don't know if you could see those. There's a hole in that center pin. So we need to reset this. This is under like 1,000 pounds of force. I can get you the exact number if you want it. So what I usually do, since I don't have a press, if you had a press, you could put in a press, put it down, put a grenade pin in there. It's just a very heavy duty wire, steel, that goes through there, and it has like a ring that you can put your finger to, looks like a hand grenade. So when you put this in the car, and you get the belt all lined up, and you put your finger on it, and you pull that grenade pin, and this pops out and puts tension on the belt. This does not ride on the belt. It rides on that other thing we just took out that has the idler pulley, and it has that metal black bracket here. It presses against that, and then that puts the idler pulley on the belt. So we'll clean this up and reset it. I'll see if I got a grenade pin. Otherwise, I'll find a very thin nail, and we can use like pliers to pull it out. It has to be heavy duty, but it has to fit in that hole. So I had a grenade pin once that I'd used before, and I put it in there, and it actually bent when I was trying to pull it out. So it has to be heavy duty wire. I've got that cleaned up. See if you can see through that hole now, and that hole. That's all clean in there. So I'll put my floor jack under it and put a piece of wood or something to cushion this. I'll put it under the car and not quite jack up the car, but because the car was more than 1,000 pounds or whatever this is set at. So it'll start to compress in. When it compresses to the right spot, I could see through there, through all three holes, I will put a pin in there. Let me look for my pin. Acura TL timing belt tensioner grenade pin. Before we take off the water pump, we need to drain out the radiator and the engine block. So a pair of pliers, just loosen that a little bit. It's not very tight. It has a rubber O-ring that seals it. There we go. Get that draining, and I'll open the radiator cap and also get the coolant reservoir bottle and dump that into here. And then I'll start draining the engine block. Get as much coolant as we can, so there'll of course still be some in that water pump that'll go all over the floor, so I'll get some rags or cardboard to catch that. There's our cruise control just hanging there. Let's get this radiator cap open. These don't last forever, so you got to change them every couple of years. They can get corroded, and the spring can go bad, and the rubber seal can go. Oh, okay. We'll dry this off and inspect it, but I got another one. I think I'm going to change it. There's like rubber goo on the edge there, so I think this rubber O-ring might be going bad. This came with the radiator when I changed it a couple years ago. So I'll change this. I'll change the drain plug because it's got a little rubber O-ring and they're so cheap. Let's just change it. It's like $2. I'm not doing the radiator hoses today. I wish I could, but I've got a lot going on already. There are 10 hoses. I'll do these in a future video. The engine block of antifreeze. I've used this before, 1/4-inch fuel line. You just gotta widen the end a little bit. It should be 5/16, but I'll just widen the end of it a little bit. I'll stick a wrench in there and make it a little wider. Still flexible. And then a 12mm box, and we'll get up there on the rear V block and change that. Okay, I am under the car. Here's the exhaust. Here's the CB joint on the passenger side. And you see up there? See that nipple sticking out? That's what I'm after. Oh, get that lens up there. That is the nipple. So I'm going to put my 12mm box and then stick my old fuel line hose and direct it down to a pan and drain it out. We won't get a whole lot, but we'll get some. Okay. If you reach one arm up here by the oil filter, I got my elbow by the brake caliper. I got one arm here, and I put the other arm up where the two exhausts come together by that flexible exhaust pipe. You should be able to get that hose on there. Now, I should be able to move this wrench and begin the draining into my pan. Hopefully you could see that on camera. Hopefully I got enough lighting for you. And then when it's done draining, there won't be a whole lot. Then I close this off and remove the hose and the wrench. Make sure it's good and tight when you close it. You don't need a leak in this leader. Okay, mechanic trick. So you got your 14, or this is a 12mm box on there, and you don't have enough leverage to break that loose. Take a larger wrench, just go like this, put it on there like that. Now you got a longer wrench, more torque. Going the other way to tighten it, go this way. So if you're using a 12, just get a 13 or a 14. This is actually a 15. It's something bigger to get on there, and you give yourself more torque. Or if you can fit a PVC pipe or something over this, something that'll fit over that, get more torque. Overflow tank out and dumped out the coolant, cleaned it as best I could. Some of it's just burned inside there. So this is ready to refill and go back in. Drain the radiator in the block. It's time to take off 5 bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's 5 bolts. Oh, there's 2 at this end. 2, 3. So 3 on the left, 2 on the right, and take off that water pump, and it will drip because there's going to be some water in the pump itself. So I got a pan under there. So our water pump has 5 bolts that have to come out. They're all 10mm. There are 3 on the left, so 2 at the far left, 1 here, and then 2 over on the right side. So 5 10mm, and they're not on there too tight. So regular wrench on those, and they'll come out easily. All 5 bolts for the water pump are all the same size, so don't worry about getting them mixed up. Work spec on these water pump bolts is 8.7 foot-pounds. So if you put like 9 foot-pounds, that's all it needs. Don't put a gorilla strain on that thing. Let's see if we can break this rubber seal loose now. Wiggle, wiggle, let's see if we can get it out. There's a little leaking out now, it's coming. There's a lot more leaking now. There we go. Okay. This looks amazing. Amazing. Look at that. It looks brand new. No corrosion whatsoever. And some sand on the top. Look at that. That's amazing. It's like somebody got under the hood of my car and put a brand new one in. 230,000 miles. It's like perfect. Boy, it is worth buying genuine Honda parts. I have reached the halfway point. Everything that I wanted off is now off. Got the water pump, the timing belt, the power steering belt, the alternator and air conditioner belt, all those blasted plastic covers. So, halfway point. Now we can start putting the engine back together. Pump from Honda. I'll put the part numbers in the description of this video. 19200-P8A-A02. Same as the one we took off. Identical part, brand new. Put in there. It has 2 dowel pins sticking out, so once you line it up and push it in place, it's there. I took a little fingerful of coolant and just rubbed it around the new O-ring. Helped out a little bit going on. So those dowel locator pins align these holes perfectly. So I'm going to hand thread all 5 of these bolts into the new water pump. Get that one off the floor in a second. Three on the left, 2 on the right. Pardon my hand in the way of the lens. I like to thread bolts in as far as I can by hand, and that way there is no cross-threading danger. And then I get a wrench on it, and these go to 8.7 foot-pounds, so you can eyeball that with your 3/8 inch socket wrench. Doesn't need to be gorilla tight. The important thing is that they're all evenly tight so that it seats that gasket. So underneath the front of the car by this tow hook, there's a frame bolt right there. So I've lined up this timing belt tensioner, and I'm going to jack on that until I get this grenade pin through there. So let me do that. This is how it looks when you're ready to put it in. Okay, I got that belt tensioner down there. Got the little wire manager clip around it, and just about to line it up and screw it in with the 2 10mm bolts. I got the tensioner bolted up, 2 10mm bolts, the orange ones, and that's tight. Got this hand threaded in. This is the tensioner that there's a edge on this black cast iron part that the tensioner, when I pull that grenade pin, will push up on this and tension the timing belt once we have the timing belt on. So I'm going to get my 14mm on there and torque that good and tight. Okay, I do happen to pull out the keyway pin. It goes in this way, so this edge goes in first. Everything nice and clean for our new belt. I'm going to slide this off. I took out the 10mm bolt. Slide this off so we can clean everything. So you can see that oil seal there. That's the one that I put in a couple of years ago, and it's holding up fantastic. No leaks at all. I removed this bolt, had to pull this out to get this off, and make sure you put that key back in. So you put this back on first. There we go. All the way in. And then put that key, then put this on, put the bolt. Make sure this wire, there's a spot where it goes through the plastic cover. Make sure that is set properly so that the cover seats where that wire goes. There's another idler pulley we're going to put in. We'll put it in very loosely because we have to put the belt around this. So I'm just going to thread it in like 10 turns maybe. Okay, it's time for our new timing belt from Honda, made by Gates, 14400-P8A-A02. And there you go, brand new timing belt. Let's get that on. So when you're putting this timing belt on, notice that the camshaft pulley in the rear has a lip on it. So you got to get the belt on the back cam pulley first, and the one on the front does not. So you could sneak it up on there when it's pretty tight. Okay, so back cam first, then front cam. Put the belt over the back cam first, under the water pump, and then onto the front cam. And I pulled on it right here to make sure I got on as tight on a tooth as I could get, but no slack here, no slack here. So on the two sides of the water pump, no slack. Okay, that's important because otherwise, if you're off a tooth, when you let go of that tensioner, it's going to move and then you'll be off on that white mark at the top of each of these, okay? So those white marks have to stay where they're at. This belt cannot move. Okay, since I got the belt on the two top cams, and this is still loose, now I could pull it down and get it on the main crank pulley. The important thing is this side over here has to be tight. This side can have slack because when I pull that grenade pin, get some more light up there. When I pull this grenade pin here, this is going to go out and take that slack out. So this side here can have slack. I've pushed the belt on as little slack as possible here. Now I'm going to come up here because this has some slack in it, and I'm going to tighten that bolt, and it should take all the slack out. And then before pulling that grenade pin, I am going to go above and check the cam positions and that there's no slack between the two cams under the water pulley, no slack. And then I'll come down here after I got this tight, make sure there's no slack here. The only slack I want to see is slack on the back side here where the grenade pin is going to take all that slack out when I pull it. Okay, so I've got no slack here, no slack here, just a little bit there because I'm going to tighten this now. So I get my 14mm wrench on there and begin tightening. And that special bolt, as it tightens in, will take that slack out. Okay, to get these belts evenly tensioned, I undid this, loosened this bolt, and loosened this bolt. So the front and rear, those interesting looking bolts that get aligned when you tighten them. So both of those I loosened and then made sure the belt had no slack left and right side of the water pump, and then no slack here after I tightened that, and a little bit of slack here after I tighten this one, because this is where this is going to take up all the slack. So what I want to make sure is that both cams are aligned at the top. So top dead center, and then the crank top dead center. And then I will pull the grenade pin. Okay, I've checked the top dead center of all three positions, both cams and the crank. I am ready to pull that grenade pin. Let's see if I can get it out with these pliers. Hopefully it'll come out in one swift pull. Let me try a gigantic screwdriver. It is not pulling. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Hung up part way. Oh no, that pin was bending. Okay, let me show you the pin. It got a little bent. So it came halfway out on my first pull and then bent. So I had to put these vice grips on it, and then I got the biggest screwdriver I have and got behind it and just pushed it out. It finally came out, and the belt seated perfectly. The tensioner is on, it's tight. Both cams are exact top dead center. The crankshaft is exact top dead center. So everything looks good. Went according to plan, except for this weak pin, which is a Honda pin. It just bent. So I got past it. Now the belt is on. Put this back on. Remember which side. You can see the teeth marks on this side, so that goes in. There. And then we're going to put our cover on. We're not going to put the pulley on yet. We're going to put the cover on first. That last scene, the lower cover does not go on next. Okay, start. So I got to put this big bracket right here. Big aluminum bracket goes right here next. This has to be put on before you put the lower cover or any other covers on. Put this big aluminum bracket in there. Go. Gotta get the bolts for that. Okay, a tip. Before you put this bracket down in there, put the bottom bolt in the bracket, then lower the bracket down. Otherwise it'll hit the firewall. So you don't have to tighten it, but just put it in put the bottom bolt in first, then the top two, tighten those, and then go and tighten the bottom one. Put this one 10mm to hold these wires in here. Right there, tighten that down. And then we can put the bottom cover on, because that bottom cover bolts into this big aluminum bracket just under here. And now we're going to put the bottom cover, 7 bolts in it. Okay, I'm going to put in the dipstick tube. I'm just not going to bolt it up. So, get that plug out of there. Until I put that top cover on, I'm going to leave this just loose. But in the hole, all the way, there we go. No dirt will get in there. Now I'm going to put the big heavy flywheel back on. Line up the keyway. There we go. Now we got to put some motor oil on the threads of this bolt before we put it in. Engine oil. Let's just spin that in. I'm not going to torque it just yet. And do some other stuff before I torque that to 181 foot-pounds. Now I'm going to put the 2 top cam covers on, and 5 bolts each. Got the front cover on before the Before I do the back one, I'm going to put this dipstick bolt in right now because it goes right below that cover. Dipstick tube is finally bolted in. The dipstick down in there. Okay, that's done. Now let's get working on the back cam. I just finished putting in the rear cam plastic cover using my luxurious bed to lay on. My special wrench on here. I got my 17mm deep socket, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the end of that special wrench to hit the floor there, and that's where it's going to lock it in place. Make sure that's in there. Okay, I've got my special setup here to torque to 180 foot-pounds. You can see I've got the special tool touching the ground, so it's locked in place. And I've got my torque wrench. Now I'm just going to torque it to 181 foot-pounds. Okay, I think it's there. Okay, let's put on 2 more belts. Let's see. This green one is the thinner of the 2. So that is the P8A. That's the power steering. And this other one, P8C, is the air conditioner and alternator. It's the wider of the 2 belts. See that? Okay, the power steering goes on the skinnier inner pulley, so I put that one on first. And the power steering pump's not there yet, so just putting the belt behind here so it'll be ready. And then the alternator and air conditioner is the wider one, so putting that on the outer pulley. And we'll go up there and get our 14mm zero offset special wrench. The alternator and air conditioner belt. Let that go. Take off the wrench. That one's done. So now I'm going to put this bracket down here, 2 bolts, and then a grounding strap with a little bolt on it. I think a moment ago I said those are 14mm. They're actually 12mm bolts. Okay, so now I got to put this ground on here, right here. 10mm nut. Tighten that up. So now it's time to put this power steering pump where it belongs onto this bolt. Stick a nut on there, and then put a bolt here. So those are through the mounts on the pump, and then tighten the belt using this one. Once the belt is at the appropriate tension, then tighten that nut, or that bolt. Okay, the belt is on the power steering pump, and we're going to use a 12mm deep to tension it. And then we'll lock the other 2, the 1 nut and 1 bolt that are 12mm. We'll lock those in place after we get the appropriate tension. So now we need to put this big engine mount, the side engine mount. So the aluminum part, the rubber part, let's put the rubber part in first, and then fit the aluminum part over it, and then bolt it in with 1 big side bolt and these 2 bolts. The big rubber mount is in, the 3 bolts, 14mm are torqued. Put this big metal piece in and fit it over the rubber engine mount, and then put the big center bolt in. 14s are in and torqued, and this one is torqued going through the middle of the rubber mount. I mentioned this one is a 17mm bolt. Let's put this cruise control back down where it belongs and plug it in. We torqued 10mm, 10mm, and 10mm. Now we're going to plug some stuff in. So This gets clipped onto here, and then this gets plugged into that, and then this gets plugged in here. Now we have cruise control. This wire onto this, right there. Can you see that? That's where that little bolt goes for this wire. I'm going to put a new radiator drain cock in. Sometimes this rubber will go bad over time, so Dorman 490-216.1. It's like $2, less than $2 at AutoZone. So got that in, tighten that up. Okay, filled this up halfway between min and max, put that in there and put the lid on. The overflow tank is half full with new fluid, coolant. Now let's fill the radiator. I've got my coolant fill kit. Use number B on here, letter B. And now I'm going to put some coolant in there. The radiator holds 1 gallon a block. Maybe I got a quarter of a gallon out. So I'm just going to pour this whole 1 gallon in. Wait for it to do its thing. Glug, glug, glug. See if it needs more. Yep, we're going to need more. But I bought 3 gallons, so I'm okay. I'm waiting for that coolant to bubble. I put in 1 1/4 gallons, and I think that's probably all it's going to take. We'll see when we start it. Put more plastic back on. Put this on, put the other cover. Those 2 plastic screws, a 1/4 turn. That's tight. Torque all 4 of those to 10 millimeter. Just torque those, and they're tight. This power steering hose. We got 1 bolt. Got to put on the rear valve cover. So let me do that right now. We're going to put this big splash tray under the car. So 8 big plastic clips and 5 small plastic clips. Now we're going to put on the right front wheel, the 5 lug nuts. Those are 19 millimeter, and then torque them to 100 foot-pounds once the car gets on the ground. Okay, the car's back on the ground. Time to torque the right front wheel back to 100 foot-pounds, crisscross pattern. Okay, it started right up. I moved the steering wheel a couple of turns around. No squeals out of the power steering pump, so no belt slip. Turn on the air conditioner, no squealing, and it's running, so no uneven idle. Right now I'm just waiting for the coolant to get all the bubbles out. It may be full. Oh, there's some bubbles coming out. So waiting for all the air to get out of the cooling system, and then we'll plug it up with this and put it back into the, put the leftover back in the coolant bottle. The fan came on, no air conditioning. So when it gets hot, 1 fan will come on. That means the thermostat just opened. A couple little bubbles. It's still full, so I think we're good here. And we'll let it run for a couple of minutes. I'll shut it off and put this back in the bottle and put the new radiator cap on. Okay, so that's the second time the fans came on. I stand corrected, both fans came on. When you turn on the air conditioner, both fans come on, and just now both fans came on because of the temperature, and a couple bubbles, but I think we're done. There's no more bubbles coming out. You normally want to wait for the fan to come on 2 times, then you're done. All the fluids, check the oil, put the new radiator cap. I think we can call that job done.